So, hopefully you all have a handout. Oh, there you go. You have something to write with? All right, so last week Nick gave us a charge to do something. Anybody remember what that was? Encourage someone to be strong and courageous, right? Mm-hmm. How'd that go? Yeah. Did anybody tell themselves to be strong and courageous? Yeah. Yeah?
I told Nick to be strong and courageous.
Okay.
She did.
Good. She did her homework. She did her homework. Very good. Very good.
What's that you said in your class?
Well, and that will give us a little bit of a clue, too, about what we talked about last week. Anybody remember anything?
We were talking about how Joshua went into Jericho because Moses wasn't a good fighter, but Joshua needed to be the one to conquer the evil people that were in the kingdom of Israel.
Okay.
Joshua spoke to his officers, his people, on what the Lord said.
Okay. Right. Okay. So, I know what's going on because I watched the YouTube videos. I've been missing class because I've been over across the way helping out with the nursery during this time, which is a blessing for those of us who want to come over here. It would be nice, though, if I could come over here sometimes. So if any of you guys would like to volunteer to help out over in the nursery during the Sunday school hour, it's a pretty short amount of time. Come and see me, and if we get enough people, then you'll only be missing, once every few weeks. So, but anyway, so Israel is camped out in an area not too close to Jericho yet. They're in this place over here. I can't spell. In this place called Shittim. If you actually say this the way it's pronounced in Hebrew, since you've got the two T's together, they're pronounced separately. So it's Shittim, but I have a hard time saying that. So I'm just going to say Shittim, which is slightly better. All right, and then we have the Jordan River here. And then over here is Jericho. You guys okay?
Yeah.
All right.
We're wondering if you're okay.
I'm okay. I'm teaching a little Hebrew.
Oh, I see.
All right. This distance here, which might come into play later on today in our conversation, is roughly 8 miles. And the distance here is, again, another 8 miles, roughly. Okay, so they're pretty close to Jericho. And it's, a pretty short trek to get over there to the Jordan, which is where they're going next, right? So, let's read this passage now. They're camped out here, and we're getting close here. We're getting close. We're going to go in. We're going to cross over, just a few days away. So, what happens next? Joshua sends some spies to go spy out Jericho and to come and report back. So, we're going to read chapter 2 of Joshua, and then we'll go through it. All right, chapter 2. And Joshua the son of Nun sent 2 men secretly from Shittim as spies, saying, "Go, view the land, especially Jericho." And they went and came into the house of a prostitute whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. And it was told to the king of Jericho, "Behold, men of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land." Then the king of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, "Bring out the men who have come to you, who entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land." But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. And she said, "True, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from. And when the gate was about to be closed at dark, the men went out. I do not know where the men went. Pursue them quickly, for you will overtake them." But she had brought them up to the roof and hid them with the stalks of flax that she had laid in order on the roof. So the men pursued after them on the way to the Jordan as far as the fords, and the gate was shut as soon as the pursuers had gone out. Before the men lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said to the men, "I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you devoted to destruction. And as soon as we heard it, our hearts melted, and there was no spirit left in any man because of you, for the Lord your God, He is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord, that as I have dealt kindly with you, you also will deal kindly with my father's house, and give me a sure sign that you will save alive my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death." And the men said to her, "Our life for yours, even to death. If you do not tell this business of ours, then when the Lord gives us the land, we will deal kindly and faithfully with you." Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was built into the city wall, so that she lived in the wall. And she said to them, "Go into the hills, or the pursuers will encounter you, and hide there 3 days until the pursuers have returned. Then afterward you may go your way." The men said to her, "We will be guiltless with respect to this oath of yours that you have made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land, you shall tie this scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, and you shall gather into your house your father and mother, your brothers, and all your father's household. Then if anyone goes out of the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we shall be guiltless. But if a hand is laid on anyone who is with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head. But if you tell this business of ours, then we shall be guiltless with respect to your oath that you have made us swear." And she said, "According to your word, so be it." Then she sent them away, and they departed, and she tied the scarlet cord in the window. They departed and went into the hills and remained there 3 days until the pursuers returned. And the pursuers searched all along the way and found nothing. Then the 2 men returned. They came down from the hills and passed over and came to Joshua the son of Nun, and they told him all that had happened to them. And they said to Joshua, "Truly, the Lord has given all the land into our hands, and also all the inhabitants of the land melt away because of us." Amen. It's a good story, right? This would make a great movie. Got the spies going in and trying to scope things out. What?
Charlton Heston.
He could play a part. And and then they're in the city, and then they get discovered, and then they go and they're hiding in this prostitute's house, and then the guards come, and there's this narrow escape, and shocking surprise, she's on their side and doesn't give them over, and then they go out and lock the gates to the city so they can't get out, right? And then she lets them out another way after they make this covenant bond about protecting one another, saving her household. And then they hide in the hills until the search is over, and then they head back to the Israelites. So that's pretty exciting. So let's go through some of these things that come up. So first question: why did Joshua send spies to Jericho? And did he mistrust the Lord? Why does he even need to send the spies? This is the class participation part.
No, I think he was trying to make sure of what was going on in Jericho before he took it over. And it wasn't that he didn't distrust the Lord, he just kind of used a contemporary term, scoping it out before he went there.
All right, scoping it out.
Recon.
Yeah, recon.
I mean, he was a man of war, so he knew a lot about recon, right? I mean, it's pretty normal routine, right?
Right? And it wasn't that he was mistrusting the Lord because God hadn't told him what to do. You know, he knew that Jericho was the next city over here. He knew that was where they were going, right?
Yeah.
But God doesn't tell him the plan until chapter 6, you know.
Yeah.
So he's just being wise. He's Israel's general. He's
There's also
preparing.
a lot said about planning in Scripture.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't just go.
Right, he's taking initiative. He's not waiting for God to, tell him what to do. He knows. We're going in, we're conquering. Jericho's the next place. Let's scope it out. Let's get the lay of the land, the geography. Where can Israel cross easiest? Where can we come to approach the city? You know, come back and tell me the geography and everything. All right, so that's number 2. What's the purpose of the covert mission? Learning the geography, figure out the best approach.
Something I really like is that the last time they did this, everyone came back all fearful and everything. And this time they're like, nope, we got this.
We got
the land
this.
promised to us, we're going to get it. They're all afraid of us.
Absolutely.
Joshua was one of the ones who said,
Yeah.
So it was very encouraging to them, right? It's like, not only has the Lord, I mean, they're terrified of us. So yeah, that would have been very encouraging. All right, so purpose of the mission, learn the geography. Tell us, Joshua wants to know what to expect, what's coming, so that he can make some wise decisions as the general. All right, so number 3, what are some of the unanswered questions about this scene? There's a whole lot of questions, like, we're not given a whole lot of detail about exactly what's happening, the motivations behind everything that's going on in this story with Rahab and the spies and the king and the search. There's all these questions.
Rahab knows a lot.
Rahab knows a lot. How does she know so much?
A Jewish person, she knows a whole lot.
How does she know all that about Yahweh, the God of the Israelites? We don't know. It doesn't say. What else?
Well, it seemed like Rahab had a lot of family there, right? Brothers, sisters.
Right, she got a lot of family.
Why was she home?
Why was she?
Oh,
Why was she a prostitute?
She had flags.
If she had all this family. Well, it may not have been a negative thing. She could have been even a cult prostitute or a temple prostitute, which was a part of the worship of some of these religions. So she might have even been held in some regard because she was like a priestess in that sense. So other questions. How did she get like this?
Is this the first place that Israel's going to conquer?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was thinking maybe they conquered some other places.
They have conquered places here outside the Jordan already.
Oh, okay.
But Jericho's going to be the first place on the other side of the Jordan that they hit.
So maybe people are fearful and like she heard about it because they've conquered some other places.
Right.
And we're
They're afraid
about
because
it.
they know what's happening out here, right? And she even talks about Egypt, right? So they know, and they're afraid. And now what about, how'd they get found out? These 2 guys go into the city, they're spies, how'd they get found out? They're just strangers passing through, they're heading somewhere, but no, they know that they've come over, they're spying us out. And then how'd the king get in the loop? There's a rat. Something's going on. We got to find these guys, right? And then it says that Rahab hid them, and it seems like it was before the guards even showed up. Why is she hiding them? I mean, how does she know that they're coming? There's all these questions, like what's going on? And we know there was a witness in verse 3. Obviously somebody told them, we saw the guys go in there, so bring them out. So there was some witness going on, all these questions. Well, the bottom line is, We don't know. We can speculate about what was going on. I've come up with several different scenarios. You know, it doesn't really matter. The bulk of the story doesn't focus on all these little details. What the focus is Rahab and this covenant between the spies and Rahab that gets made, right?
How did she know that they were Jews? She seemed to know a lot about it.
She really did.
Drying up the water and all that kind of stuff.
Which brings us to question 4. What does Rahab know about the God of Israel? And I've got 4 things down here. What does she know?
The Lord had given the God.
Drying up the rivers.
All right. So she knows his power, right? She knows his power. The miracles, right? She's heard about the miracles. She's heard about him causing Israel to wipe out these nations. So she knows his power. What else does she know?
That God has given him the land.
Okay. He's given them the land. So she knows about his dominion. What does she say about his dominion? He is the God of
Heaven and earth.
heaven and earth, right? Because everybody understood that each nation had their own gods, and the gods controlled that area, that land, that part of the earth was theirs, and they were in charge. But not this Israel God. He's the God of heaven and earth, the whole thing. So she knows his dominion. What else does she know? Verse 9. Nobody's confident enough they know the answer?
God's given them the land. Is that where you're getting at? Blair said that though.
Yeah.
That the inhabitants
Well-
will melt away.
Well, she knows his name, right? She knows his name, the Lord. The Lord there, when you see Lord in all caps, that's actually Yahweh. So she's using his name. We know about Yahweh, right? So she knows his name. God's fame has gone into Canaan.
Pretty smart.
All right, and so what else? There's something else she knows. Because she asks them to save her and her family. So what else does she know about Yahweh?
He's merciful.
Merciful. She knows about his grace. Wow, that's pretty cool. She really knows what's going on. So that brings us to question 5. Is Rahab just trying to save her family? Or does she have genuine faith here? I mean, she knows all this stuff, but does she have faith? Does she have faith in God?
I would say yes. There are things that
Hebrews
she
says
could
yes.
not know without divine revelation.
Okay. Yeah, there are things we can't know without divine revelation, right?
Hebrews 11 says she did it by faith.
Yeah, let's flip over to Hebrews 11:31. Hebrews 11 is that faith chapter, a long list of people who have had great faith in Scripture. And in verse 31, we have, it says, by faith, Rahab the prostitute did not perish with those who were disobedient, because she had given a friendly welcome to the spies. So, Scripture itself tells us that she had genuine faith. She had genuine faith.
Why would she do the oath with them? She laid down, their word that when they finally came in, they wouldn't kill her or her family. So if she had faith that God would save her, why wouldn't she?
Well,
She also knew she was outside of the nation of Israel and that God hadn't promised her anything.
she needed to appeal to God's mercy,
Yeah.
right? Question 6, and this is very interesting. What significance is there to this Canaanite woman having faith?
Eventually the Gentiles will be brought in.
Right. I'm gonna put this down. All right. Significance of her faith. I'm going to call her a Gentile. All right, significance of Gentile faith. All right, so we know that, this is like reminding everybody that God is the God of the earth. He's not just the God of Israel. He's made Israel his people, but God is the God of the earth, and he's got plans for everybody. Okay, so the Gentiles will be brought in. Will be brought into the kingdom. All right? And in Genesis 12, 1 through 3, has somebody looked that up already?
What was that?
Genesis 12, 1 through 3. I'm there, I'll read it. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." And of course that's looking forward to Christ eventually, right? And through the same faith that Abraham had that brought him salvation, justification, it's the same for us through Christ. We have faith, same faith that Abraham had, and we receive that blessing that we are brought into the kingdom, into the people of God. So we see in Luke 2 that Jesus is how this happens. So let me flip over there real quick. Luke 2, and this is Simeon's blessing that he gives when he sees the infant Jesus who's being brought to the temple for circumcision. Simeon sees Jesus, and he says verses 29 through 32. And in 32, he says that Jesus is a light for revelation to the Gentiles and for glory to your people Israel. All right, so Jesus is I'm just going to say is the light. All right, Jesus is the light. It's through Jesus that all the Gentiles will really begin being brought into the kingdom in earnest. But we see Gentiles all throughout, here and there, who are in, including right here with Rahab. So, anybody know anything about Rahab's line? Okay, so Rahab marries this guy named Salmon. All right, and then they have a son. Anybody know? Boaz. And Boaz marries somebody. Ruth, also a Gentile. All right. So Ruth is Rahab's daughter-in-law. And then they have a son, Obed. Obed has a son, Jesse, and Jesse has a son, David, and David eventually gets us to Jesus. So we have this first convert, if you will, in Jericho, a Gentile who becomes the mother of Jesus. It's just awesome.
That's amazing. Interesting too that Jesus' first convert was the woman at the well, another Gentile.
Wow. There's always these little hints of it, even before Pentecost, right? God is the God of all the earth. All right, so number 7. What is significant about the hills? Oh, not much. Rahab tells them to run off to the hills, right? they're over here. The water flows down to the river, right?
Yeah.
So she tells them, go hide in the hills over here, because they're going to be searching all over here, right? And they run and search. They're searching along here for 3 days. And it's only 8 miles. So how long does it take to go 8 miles?
2 hours?
Yeah.
3?
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours. If you're searching carefully, you might, maybe they took a circuitous route. They're searching for 3 days. They come back, and then they just head back after that. Head back. So, I thought that was interesting. All right, number 8. What promises do the spies make to Rahab, and what conditions do they impose? All right, so we have the spies, and we have Rahab, and they make this agreement, right? What verses are those? Oh, I'm in Luke. No wonder it looks weird.
14.
All right, yeah, it kind of begins
It
with
doesn't
14.
really start until 18,
Well, it begins really in 14,
yeah, 14.
and then down to 21. So that whole section. All right. So what did the spies agree to do?
Take care of her family. And
Right. All right. Save.
Our life for your life. Is their first-
Yeah, exactly.
That was kind of an oath they gave.
Save Rahab and family. All right. And Rahab is going to save the spies. Okay, but then there's all these stipulations that they say. Okay, we've made this oath. Blood is on our heads if you guys get hurt. But
Don't tell us.
we gotta make some rules here.
She had to mark out her house.
All right.
Scarlet colors.
Right. So you gotta do the red cord. Okay.
Everybody
And
else-
don't tell on us. Right. Don't tell anybody.
Bring your family into your house.
All right. Everybody has to stay indoors. Anybody goes out, then it's their own fault. It's not our fault.
And if the oath is broken, the same thing applies.
Right. All right. Now, question 9 is going to get back a little bit to what Sam was asking earlier. Why does James use Rahab as an illustration in James 2:25?
For her faith.
It's for her faith, but also for something else.
Works, for faith that works.
For her works.
Living.
I'm going to eventually find James here.
Yeah.
All right, so 2:25 says, and in the same way, well, let me start in 24. 24, you see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. And in the same way, was not also Rahab the prostitute justified by works when she received the messengers and sent them out by another way? For as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so also faith apart from works is dead. All right, so why is she a good illustration for this faith and works thing that James is talking about?
Is it because her faith had evidence, external evidence, you could see her faith at work? Is that a way to
Yes.
put it?
Yes. It's what James's point here is that you can say you have faith, but if nobody can see it, then is it real? Because if you have real faith, things are going to happen. And in the case of Rahab, if she had believed, she had faith in the God of Israel, but did nothing, she would have perished. She would have died. But her works actually saved her. Her works saved her because she went and hid the spies. She talked to the spies. She made a covenant with the spies. And this was her works, okay, that was done. These works were done in faith, her faith. So because of her faith, She wanted to make this agreement. She wanted to have this covenant with Israel so that she and her family would be saved. And, you know, and it was her real life. And here in James, he's saying, if you don't have a faith that works itself out in works, then your faith is dead. It's of no value. It does nothing. It's not real. All right, so then number 10. Why did Rahab defect? And how does this apply to us? Because she was defecting, right? Forget my people. I want to be with your people.
Well, we just talked about her faith, so she knows that her people are gone. They lost. The land is for these people. So I want to be on a winning team.
Exactly.
She doesn't want to die.
She doesn't want to die. She doesn't want her family to die. She knows they're all going to get massacred. And so she's got faith. She knows what's going to happen. And she wants to save her life. So how does this apply to us?
Well, like in Las Vegas, you kind of throw yourself in front of the people that are shooting at you to save people that you really love.
Well, that's true. That's a good example.
We're living in a place that loses.
We're living in a place that loses. Yeah.
So
We're all living in Jericho.
yeah.
What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul?
Absolutely. So this whole world is in Jericho, living in Jericho. And Jesus and his army are just a few hours away, and they're going to march at any moment.
So we should just hide in our house.
So you can hide in your house.
With a scarlet ribbon.
You can deny that he's there. You can deny that Judgment Day is coming. You can pretend like it's not going to hurt you at all. Or you can get on the winning side. You can defect from this world and join with Christ.
And rejoice when Jericho falls.
And rejoice when God is just and Jericho falls.
I also came to mind praying for God's faithfulness in redeeming your children. That came to mind. I don't know if that fits, but
Well, yeah.
if she had faith in God's covenant-making God, families, and that's where my head went.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Rahab's
praying for your
faith,
children to be saved.
God saved Rahab's whole family because of her faith.
In her intervention, praying for her.
Absolutely.
I wonder how many her family were just like, no, that's silly. I mean, we're gonna be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of
yeah.
like the family of Noah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Noah. It's almost like God works through us.
Household salvation.
All right. Question 11. What report did the spies give to Joshua? And we already kind of talked about this.
We got this.
We got this. That was the report. The spies come back. Hey, Joshua, we got this.
We got this.
We got this. It would have been hugely encouraging, right? They are full of fear. But, you know, what do you think the spies might have learned about God? About God's provision or faithfulness?
Well, they must have seen that he had prepared Rahab's heart. There's no way that
Absolutely.
in ordinary circumstances she wouldn't have just turned them over to, you know, some kind of government authority and received some sort of honor or maybe even gold or whatever, right?
I mean, like, what are the odds? Like, we're gonna go in and some prostitute is gonna help us out. I mean, that's just what?
No, none of this was going according to plan, right? They didn't want to get in this dire situation and then found out and then the
And then of
gates
all the
shut.
places to show up at Rahab's house, you know.
Yeah.
Also, they would have seen the people being fearful of them, right? So they could have seen God's provision in that way, that he was preparing the land.
Absolutely. And Rahab was even knowledgeable enough about how the search was going to go. You know, I'm sure they had sent people out in search of people who'd come in and stolen things or whatever. They're going to be gone about 3 days. They're going to search all along. So you guys hide for 3 days. You know, So God just provided for them, gave them complete success, and brought them back home safely. So number 12, that's one of the lessons that we learn from this chapter. What are some other lessons?
Everything is God's will.
Everything happens. He's sovereign, right? Everything's going to happen according to His plan, His purpose.
Faith works. Faith works.
Faith works.
I see what you did
That's
there.
too deep, Nick.
Oh.
That's too deep.
Faith works. Good.
Easy.
Yeah. Something else is initiative. We see initiative a lot here. Sometimes I talk to Christians who are sitting and waiting for God to tell them something. And this is a pet peeve of mine. Joshua takes initiative. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what God, He hasn't told me anything. He's not sitting and waiting. I'm going to send spies. I'm going to figure out what I can figure out. There's no guarantee He's going to tell me anything. So I gotta make plans. And then Rahab is taking initiative. She's going to perish unless she does something. Her whole family is going to perish unless she does something. So she takes initiative and counts on God's grace to save her.
That's something I think it's easy to do as a Christian is tell yourself that line, well, I'm just going to do whatever God wants. So I'll comfortably sit here and I'll wait. And as soon as He tells me, I'll do it.
Right.
I'll just wait for God to tell me.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole lot more in the scriptures about what to do than there is about what not to do.
Right.
So if you want to do what God tells you to do, there's a few pages to read.
Walk.
You shouldn't be sitting around waiting for Him to tell us to do something. All right. Well, I was going to take a moment to draw out my timeline as I see it, and how chapter 2 fits in with chapter 1 and 3, but I'll save that for next time because I'm out of time. But I don't think there's any issues there. It seems very clear and straightforward to me. But we'll cover that next time.